their lawyer, the lawyer for the Snyder family, the goody, the white hat, was Craig Trebilcock. And I'm glad to say Craig joins us now. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Tell us, how bitterly disappointed must the family be at the comprehensive decision by the Supreme Court on this?
Yeah, they're very upset. As Al Snyder, the father, stated, military families give their children to the United States to defend the country, and when something bad happens and they come home in a body bag, there's no protection for the grief of the families, and they wonder if it was all worth it.
Now, who are the Westboro Baptist Church?
Well, they're basically a family cult. They're not part of the American Baptist Church, the mainstream. They just use that name. They're a group of about now 50 individuals, all of whom live on a compound in Topeka, Kansas, together. Almost all of them are from the same family, and they have this fixation. To call it an Old Testament fixation is an understatement. They simply believe that God is going to destroy America and Western civilization due to its sins, and this is being manifested in our troops dying in Iraq and Afghanistan.
And can no one stop them actually reaching the graveside? I mean, is there not a way in which the grieving family can post security in a way that keeps these people far away from the graveside?
Well, that there is not, unfortunately. Many of these places are public places. Our attempt to go to court to stop them was to put monetary penalties on their outrageous conduct so they would be dissuaded from doing this in the future. A lot of American states have passed laws in each state trying to keep these people away, and many of those laws have been struck down by our Supreme Court as infringing upon free speech. Rather unbelievable, but that's been the situation. So that in the state where this funeral happened, Maryland, the legislature could only pass a law that said these people must be kept 100 feet away. Well, we all know, 100 feet is not very far.
No, it's not.
Less than half a football field, so they're right up there.
Yeah. Oh, it's a third of a real football field, a British football field. The grief of the family, the death of their child, thus compounded by someone metaphorically seeking to dance on their grave.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there's in the law, it's called a tort, which is simply a lawyer word for causing harm to someone else. And it was called intentional infliction of emotional distress. And it's really just what it sounds like. If you go up to somebody with the intent purely of causing them harm by saying something, you used to be able to be sued for damages. You had to prove that there was physical harm to the person because of those ill words. And in this case, there was. Mr. Snyder, the surviving father, is a diabetic, and it threw his regimen off completely and made him very sick. That law has now largely been wiped out by the Supreme Court decision.
So the Supreme Court holds that the right of freedom of speech trumps everything else in the United States. So that, for example, as I gave an example earlier, the American Nazi Party can don Nazi uniforms and pick up swastika flags and goose step through Jewish neighborhoods in New York City, for example, all in the name of freedom of speech.
Absolutely, and Americans are outraged. The polls over here are running about 80 to 85%, not just against this decision, but people just outraged. They feel like the values of this country have just gone out the window.
And so what will the political impact be? I mean, what would be required? An amendment to the Constitution?
That would be one thing, but that's virtually impossible to get under our system. I mean, our politicians can't seem to agree that the sky is blue. But one thing that can...
It's not blue here, I can tell you that, Craig. You're lucky if it's blue, mate.
I believe that. My dad's an old Cornishman, so I've been down to Cornwall, and I know how the weather can be.
Yeah. So if not a change to the Constitution, what, if anything?
Well, there's a concept under our law that says a state can create what are called time, place, and manner restrictions. So supposedly the states will be able to pass a law that can say they must stay so many feet away that I referenced earlier. But then when those laws are passed, if they're too broad, if you try to keep them 500 feet away, the court says, no, that treads on the Constitution too. So people are very frustrated, and not just with the decision, but the law exists so that people feel there is a system that protects their rights.
Well, Craig, tell them a good old saying from this side of the Atlantic: the law is an ass, at least as far as I'm concerned. 08717 22 33 44. Give me your point of view. Here